Please turn to page 171 for the directions chapter to teach sight words in your reading groups. First of all, what are sight words? Sight words are special words because they appear frequently in text, yet many times these words are not easily sounded out. For children to become efficient readers and writers, it's necessary that they acquire a bank of sight words. A more child-friendly term for these words is expert words. I tell students, these are your expert words, words that you need to read as fast as a snap. In the previous chapter, the students learned that they needed to read CVC words by blending the sounds together. Now they're introduced to a new type of word, sight words, where they have to look at the whole word and immediately be able to read it. So, sight words are the whole word, memorize, read as fast as a snap, while the CVC words were blending the letters together in order to read those words. Please turn to page 172. On this page, you will see listed in order from 1 to 48 are all the sight words taught in this program. Please turn to page 173. Notice on this page, you will see the puppet that we use in order to teach students the strategy of how to read sight words. On the front part of this puppet, you will see the I know it. That's the phrase that we tell students. When you see a sight word, that's a word that you should know. And here's the chant that we have on the reverse side of the puppet so that students know how to use that strategy. Snap, snap, snap. Read the words, write the words as fast as a snap. On the next two pages, pages 174, 175, you can duplicate this puppet to use to show your children the strategy. Or you can go to my website for a free color copy of the puppet. First, we introduce the new word to the students using a chant, a cheer, or a story, followed by something I call build a word. Please turn to page 176 for the directions to introduce the sight words with a chant, a visual, or a story. First, and in this case, when we're teaching we would write the word on the board for all the students to see. Here's the word we. What's the word? We. Here's how I'm going to remember we. Let's learn the we chant. Slide down and up on the W, then land on the E. Wee, wee, wee. Let's go to the next way to introduce a word to the students. Notice here in the middle box is a visual. The S is like a snake that is looking at you. So there's my snake and my eyeballs in the E. And what's the word? See. A snake that has eyeballs and it can see. Sometimes I'll use a story to teach students a word. In this case, I'll show the capital A and I'll show the lowercase a. Then I'll tell them a snake, a car. A is a word that tells how many. A means one. What does A mean? One. A snake, a car. I can see it as a capital, I can see it as a lowercase, but it still means one. On the following pages, pages 177 through 181, are each one of the sight words with the visual, story, or chant that you can use to introduce it. On page 182 is an activity in which students are going to take letter cards and put them together to build their new sight word. For the Build the Word activity, you need an envelope with the sight word written on the outside, and also the sight word written on some sort of hardstock card where you cut up the letters. At the bottom of your page, you'll see a visual. Here's that envelope with the cut up letters, and the student has mixed them up. Next, the student has taken the letters, building in the order that they read the word in serial order from left to right. It's also important that you say to the students that their letters need to be snuggled together. They can't be far away. Once they read the word, you have the student mix the letters up and build the word again. They do this many times until they can build that word very quickly, as fast as a snap. On the following page, 183, what you will see are 3 different intervention activities. Many times, you will have students that have difficulty with this build-a-word activity, which means that they're confused. They don't understand what a word is. That's a perfect opportunity as a teacher to teach them these new skills. When the letters are out of order, so let's say this was the word the that the child was building. Here's their envelope and their letters. I pull all these letters away, and then I just take one letter. So in this case, I put the E there, then I remove the E and I put the T there. And I ask the student, you need to make your letter card match this one, this first one. Does this match? And then I add the other card, or does this match? Which one is the same? We are basically breaking it down and just showing them one card and one letter. After they match the first one, then you would go and say, now you're going to look at this one. Which card is the same? Which one matches that? Let's go to the next activity, upside down letters. Sometimes I'll have students who will build the word no problem, but when they place the letter card in the word, it may be upside down. Notice the upside down E here in the example. In this intervention, what I do is I put a line underneath the word on their envelope as well as on the bottom of each one of their letter cards. Next, I tell the students that words love to wear shoes, and when they're wearing their shoes, they better be standing on them. Here's the line on the envelope. The word the is wearing shoes. Then I show them each one of their letter cards and how they're wearing shoes. T is happy, it's standing on its shoes. H is happy, it's standing on its shoes. Uh-oh, E's going to be mad. He's standing on his head, not his shoes. So then the student flips the card over and puts it so that the E is standing on its shoes. It's no longer upside down. This activity is fun, and it also helps students with those visual confusions. Let's go to the bottom of our page where we see the final intervention. The letters are not snuggled together. I write down the student's name correctly and then with the letters far away and ask, which one looks right, Sarah? And whether she chooses the top one or not, I always erase the correct one. After erasing the way Sarah was correctly spelled, I then go to her name down here and I say, we're going to make your name come alive. And we point at her name and say, come alive. And at that point, I pretend like I'm Sarah's name. And I say, hey, this is my name, Sarah. And these are all the letters in my family. And we're supposed to be snuggled up together because we're a family. What are we doing far away? Get back here right now. And then I have all the kids go, snuggle them up, snuggle them up. I erase the letters and then I write them so that they're snuggled together. Whew. Your name gets angry if those letters are not snuggled together because they're a family, Sarah. Let's go to where you have the word the. Here's all the letters in the family, but do they want to be far away or snuggled up? Snuggled up. They need to be snuggled up because they live together. They live in the same house. They're a word. I put a little house on the envelope. She sees her letters far away and then she snuggles them up because a word is made up of letters that are snuggled together. They're like a family that live in the same house. And that's the final activity for the different interventions if students have confusions for Build a Word. Please turn to page 184 for sight word boards. These pages are in the student portfolios. Here I have a sight word board where it's just sight words, and there are also sight word sentences boards on different pages. Let's first look at the sight word boards. Each one of these pages have the new sight words, but also previously learned sight words. So notice we're constantly spiraling so that students will not only learn new information, but they will also practice what has been previously learned so that we continue with automaticity and mastery of all skills. Why did I format these high frequency sight words on a page all together? Because in the past, I used to teach students sight words by looking at them on decks of cards. I would have them look at the word. Here's the word like. They would read it. Then I would go to the next card and they would read their sight word there. And this is how they would practice their sight words in isolation, usually on a deck of cards. What I found, though, was that they could read those words very quickly when they were on the cards. But it was interesting when they went back to read those words in text. It was as if they had never seen them before. And what I realized was when they're looking at a word on a card, there are no other words around it. So their brain is just memorizing that word in isolation. Students are not going to see words in isolation typically when you're reading. What they will do is they will see those sight words in running text with other words around them. So that's why I put the words on these sight word boards, I call them, but they're just pages in their portfolio with the sight words that they're learning as well as the previously learned sight words. Now the students will be able to see the word with other words around it, just like in running text, and they will have ample opportunities to read the word over and over and over again, touching one to one and going left to right. That incorporates all those book handling skills necessary to read. When students open up their boards, you always start with the chant to remind them that these are their sight words. These are words when they see them, they need to read as fast as a snap. Then we go to the board. I will have them take out a crayon. For example, grab a green crayon. Find all the words that say like and put a box around them. So they would find the word like, and every time they box it, they're going to read it. What this does is it helps them see the word, differentiate it from the other sight words, box it, which shows them you're looking at the whole word, and now read it quickly, like. So they get many different opportunities to read the word, find it, differentiate it from the others, box it to remind them the strategy is to look at the whole word, and then read it quickly. After they find, box, and read all the likes on the page, then they will grab a different color crayon, and I may say, box all the words that say see with a yellow crayon. And they would go back, they would identify, box, and read all the words that say see. After all the words are color-coded, then they would point at each word left to right across each row and read each one as fast as a snap. Look at all the opportunities you will give your students to read these sight words many, many times, and it's all on one page. Also, when they leave the group, they can go back and independently or with a partner in their group, read these pages again. On page 185 are sight word sentences boards. On the previous page, that was when the students were reading the sight words at the word level. So they saw the words around it, but they only looked at the word. They didn't have to worry about the words going together. On this page, we're moving this up a notch where students not only are going to read the words as fast as a snap because they're only sight words, they will also have to read them in running text in a sentence. So there's new skills that they're learning here. They're learning how to read the sight word as fast as a snap, but they're also learning that there's capitals, there's periods, that they're chunking the words together in the sentence so that you have that beginning fluency at the sentence level. I like the bat. And notice these sentences have rebus pictures also. And rebus pictures are there so that students can read sentences because they may not be able to read words like hamburger or butterfly. And the pictures I use there are also the pictures that they have on their sound cards. So they're constantly seeing these same pictures over and over as well, which is a great vocabulary activity. First thing we do when they open up the page is we all get excited. We're reading sentences now. Look at how there's all these sentences on the page. What are sentences? They're a group of words about one idea, and they always start with a capital and end with a period. When we read these sentences, you're going to see that all the words in them are your sight words, words that you need to read as fast as snap. So let's go through each sentence and let's box the words so that you can remember to look at the whole word, and let's also box the words so that you can go through and preview each one to practice reading it. After we box the words, we're going to go back and read the sentences as fast as a snap, but also so it sounds like we're talking. The students go to their page, pick up a green crayon, box all the words that say like on this page. Grab a yellow crayon, and I want you to box all the words that say see. And then they would go through and they would box the different sight words, different colors, so that they've practiced rereading those sight words in isolation, practice them so they can read them as quickly as a snap. After they're all color-coded, notice on the picture below, then they will read each sentence, focusing on chunking the words together so that they sound like they're talking. Sometimes students have trouble with that, so I will make sweeping lines like I like the bat, see the butterfly, I like a hamburger. So those sweeping lines show them when you see these two words, you're not only going to read them quickly, but you're also going to chunk them together. Students then read these pages. On both of these pages, remember, you're teaching students how to read these words and what strategy, but then when they go to read, they should all be reading the pages on their own in the group. Whenever a child has trouble, then you can individually with each student help them and give any intervention that they need in order to read those words correctly. On pages 186 and 187 are the tools and steps for students to write the new sight words using large motor motions, tactile books, and whiteboards. Let's start with page 186. At the top, you will see the puppet. We always start with the puppet. Why? Because that tells the children the objective of the lesson, and that is snap, snap, snap. Read the words, write the words as fast as a snap. We've been reading sight words as fast as a snap. Now we'll move to writing them as fast as a snap. At the bottom of this tool page are the letter formation chants. Each letter of the alphabet has a chant. They will say the chants as they're writing each one of the letters. On page 187 are the 3 different activities to introduce the new sight word. Let's start at the top with the large motor motions. Notice I'm always going to begin just using the body, no paper or pencil. The students and I are standing together, as you can see in the picture, and we're ready to start writing the word like using body right, followed by sky right. Boys and girls, let's write the word like. We have it up on the board. Start at the top, and we're going to go down the pole for the letter L. Ready? Down the pole. Next, we're going to write the letter I. Down a little pole, dot the I. Now let's write the letter K. Down the pole, down the ladder, down the slide. Next, we're going to write the E. Before I write the letter E, I want to show you something. Many times when students write the letter E in a word, that is a letter that you will see often with reversals, meaning that they're writing the letter in the wrong direction. That could be some visual confusions that they may have, but because the letter E is a wide letter, they'll start far away so that they have room to write it because it's wide. I want them to remember to start close to, and in this case, the letter K, to form that E. So what I do is I tell them, E has a crush on the letters, and it always wants to be close to the letter when it starts writing it. So when we write the word like, what do? We go down the pole, down the little pole, dot the I, down the pole, down the ladder, down the slide. And where is E? Next to the K, because it loves the letters. So it's starting close. Then it goes across the bridge, open your mouth. You will be amazed at how many students don't have reversals when they remember where the starting point is to form that letter. So we go back and we do our body right with the word like up on the board, and we're down the pole, down the little pole, dot the I, down the pole, Down the ladder, down the slide, and then E likes to be next to the letters. Cross the bridge, open your mouth. After we do body right, we then move to sky right. Finger in the air, down the pole. Down the pole, dot the I. Down the pole, down the ladder, down the slide. E likes to be close to the letters. Cross the bridge, open your mouth. And there we have the word like. After the students and I practice body right and sky right, I then have them form the letters using body right and sky right while I just trace over the letters as they're writing them with their body or with the sky writing with their finger in the air. The reason for that is so that they understand that their body is making those different letters. You don't want this to be an activity where they're not connecting it to the letters. The whole idea is for them to feel how to form those letters. Let's go to the next activity, and that's tactile books. Now notice it says optional here. Sometimes students have a difficult time going from body right, sky right, paper and pencil. This is a stepping stone to that paper pencil writing. To make these tactile books, you get some sort of cardstock or index cards. You write the words out with marker, and then you trace them over with puffy paint. That way, when the students trace the letters, they can feel them. It has that tactile feel to them. When students are using these pages, this is what it would look like. They would say the letter chant, down the pole, cross the bridge, down the pole, over the hump. E likes to be close to the letters, cross the bridge, open your mouth. Then they put their finger underneath the word and they slide it from left to right and say the word, the. One more time, down the pole, cross the bridge. T, down the pole, over the hump. H, cross the bridge, open your mouth. E, T-H-E, the. They're saying the letter chant, how to form it. They're saying the letter name. Then they spell the word, T-H-E. Then they slide their finger under it, the. The reason why you're having them spell the word is that's what they're supposed to do when they actually write it out. They're saying to themselves, oh, I need a T, an H, and an E to write the, because this is a memorization activity. When using these tactile books, students will trace these words over and over many times. Finally, the last activity on this page is the whiteboard. What do? They say the letter chant. First they'll go like, down the pole, down the little pole, dot the I. Down the pole, down the ladder, down the slide, cross the bridge, open your mouth. L-I-K-E, like. Then they erase it and they write it again. I have them do this over and over repeatedly until they just write it without even thinking about it. And they'll say L-I-K-E, like. That's when you know that they're at that point of mastery. They're just able to write the word. They don't even need to say the letter chants anymore. They just say L-I-K-E, like. And they erase it and write it again. This is a very powerful activity. Here's an idea for the whiteboards. You could just provide your students with student-sized whiteboards and the marker. But sometimes that becomes an issue in itself, just for management. You'll have children having to get the whiteboards, opening up the whiteboard marker. It becomes very difficult to manage all of those items. One thing that you could do is you can get plywood type of shower board at any home improvement store and put them over your table. So let's say that you have a long rectangular table, or maybe you have a horseshoe table. You trace that whiteboard, cut it out, flip it over, and now you have a whiteboard table. So when students come to work with you in the small group, they always have a whiteboard right there. Instead of you having them go get whiteboards and passing them out, that's a lot of time and a lot of management issues. No longer will you have to deal with that. One other issue when you're working with whiteboards are the markers. What you can do with the markers is you can get a small tub, put plaster of Paris in it, and then put the marker in the plaster of Paris. And you can put several of them, maybe 6 to 8 markers, in this tub. The plaster of Paris will then dry, and that lid will be in the plaster of Paris. Meaning that you can just put these tubs of markers, which by the way, the markers are upside down, so all the ink goes to the point. And the students will come to the table, they'll just pull out a marker and they're ready to go. You don't have to worry about teaching them how to take the marker off, put it on the back, how to click it back on. So that's just a couple of suggestions that will help you manage your time more efficiently when you're conducting these groups. On page 188 is Find and Write Sight Words. This activity provides more practice for your students to read and write the sight words. In their reading groups, your students should be provided in this activity a fast as a snap chart. Here's one pictured on your page. There's actually many of these fast as a snap charts. As you can see, there's charts that have just a few words on it, all the way up to charts that have all 48 words, depending on what color group your students are in. In this activity, what you need to do is have your students place their as fast as snap chart next to their whiteboard. I will tell the students a sight word. It may be the new sight word they're learning this week, or it could be a previously learned sight word. So this lesson is practicing new and previously learned words. First, they're going to read the word, meaning they'll look at their list, find the word, point to it, say it, like. Then they'll go to their whiteboard and write it. I suggest they write it out at least 2 to 3 times. And when they're writing it at this point, many times they should just be saying L-I-K-E, like. L-I-K-E, like. The Black Line Masters for the As Fast as a Snap charts that display the student sight words are on pages 190 through 194. Finally, on page 189 is the new sight word writing pages, and they're in the student portfolios. For example, in this portfolio, the students are writing the word like on this page. This is the point in the writing instruction where the students are now using paper and pencil. These pages are mainly used for students to independently practice tracing a line of the sight words, then writing the sight words, and as you can see, 4 different times on the row below it. So they would trace like, then write it. Trace, write, trace, write. And as they're writing the word, what do we want them to do? Say the letter, L-I-K-E, like. This is a great activity for your students to practice independently how to write these words. That ends our chapter on writing sight words. In the next chapter, we're going to see how sight words and blending words go together in our Mix Them Up activities.